Week one of the college football season is officially in the books. It ended up being a great weekend for the sport of college football. We had some great games, but now we move on to week two, starting tomorrow night, September 7th. And then you have a game or two on Friday, and then also games on Saturday. No Sunday or Monday games from here on out. I went 14-2 this past week, with my only losses being Colorado State losing to Colorado and Texas losing to Maryland at home in an upset, according to some people. I'm going to run through those games that I picked last week right now. And Ohio State, that was the first game. That was last Thursday, first big game of the year. Ohio State defeated Indiana by a score of 49-21. And then Colorado defeated Colorado State 17-3 on Friday. Washington, surprisingly, I should say Rutgers surprisingly hung on with Washington, but they ended up losing by a score of 30-14. So Washington gets the win on the road. Penn State then defeated Akron by a score of 52-0. 52-zip, I'll say that, 52-zip. The Penn State Nittany Lions defeated the Akron Zips 52-zip. Maryland defeated Texas 51-41, as I said. And what a lot of people would say was an upset, but I liked what Tom Herman said in his post-game press conference. He had said, well, a lot of people thought we were just going to come in here and, sprinkle some fairy dust everywhere, and, everything would be all right here in Austin. But, everything is not all right in Austin. They lost to Maryland, one of the worst teams in the Big Ten this past year. But Maryland, they're back on track, I think. DJ Durkin, he did all right in his first year in College Park last year. But and this is a huge win for him, going on the road to Texas, of all places, and defeating the Longhorns, like I said, by a score of 51-41. They did lose Tyrell Pigram for the season due to a torn ACL, so he'll be out for the rest of the year. That will hurt the Terps, but I think Maryland will finish. They're in the East of the Big Ten, so you got Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan State, Indiana, and Rutgers as well. I think Maryland will come in fourth in the East. They'll go bowling this year and represent the Big Ten well in doing so. Hopefully, they will do that. And then another Big Ten team, Iowa. They defeated Wyoming and Josh Allen by a score of 24-3. Michigan defeated Florida 33-17. Notre Dame defeated Temple 49-16. USC, hung on. I'll get to UCLA here in a minute. USC defeated, and they hung on to defeat Western Michigan 49-31. Georgia defeated Appalachian State 31-10. Louisville beat Purdue 35-28. The Boilermakers, they played one of the best games I've seen them play in the past probably 8 years this past Saturday night. And that's saying something, because Purdue has been awful since Joe Tiller left. And that was probably about 10 years ago. So they played a great game, but they couldn't pull it out in the end. Louisville beat Purdue by 1 touchdown, 35-28. Alabama defeated Florida State, and now DeAndre Francois less Florida State by a score of 24-7. Francois tore his patella. He is out for the rest of the season. Florida State, a lot of people, are saying they're going to be fine. I don't think they will. They'll probably finish 8-4, 9-3. They were one of my teams in the college football playoff. I don't want to change that prediction, because that was my preseason predictions. If I had to go with 4, I'd still go Alabama, Ohio State, USC, and you might want to throw Penn State in the mix there. You might want to throw Clemson back in the mix there. A lot of people were forgetting about Clemson. No one was talking about them going into the year after losing Deshaun Watson, but they picked up a victory this past weekend over Kent State. But Florida State, I don't think they'll make the playoff now with DeAndre Francois out for the season. So Alabama beat Florida State Saturday night. LSU also defeated BYU Saturday night, 27-0. That was the game that got moved, from Houston to New Orleans due to Hurricane Harvey. Now we've got Hurricane Irma coming up the coast. The Miami Hurricanes canceled their game, and this game will not be made up against Arkansas State. They were going to go to Arkansas State on Saturday, but due to travel concerns, they are canceling the game, and the game will not be played at all. So a lot of hurricanes affecting the sports world. UCLA, as I said, I'll get to them here in a bit. I'll get to them now. They were down 44-10 in the middle of the third quarter, and then they came back and defeated Texas A&M 45-44. Virginia Tech then defeated Virginia Tech defeated West Virginia 31-24 on Sunday night as well, and then Georgia Tech defeated Tennessee in double overtime. Tennessee defeated Georgia Tech. I read that wrong. Tennessee defeated Georgia Tech 42-41 in double overtime in Atlanta. And then, as I said last week, I'm going to go through the biggest upset, the best game I thought, and then teams that impressed and disappointed. So best game I thought was, we'll go biggest upset first. Biggest upset, you had Maryland over Texas. Yeah, but like I said, a lot of people are calling that an upset. I already went through that. Liberty went to Waco, though, down in Texas. They defeated Baylor, and Baylor was probably thinking, give me Liberty or give me death. Well, they probably wish they would all died before that game started, because they lost to an FCS program at home. So Liberty defeated Baylor. James Madison defeated East Carolina on the road. Another FCS team upset an FBS program over the weekend, but James Madison is 10 times better than Liberty. So Liberty-Baylor upset was more powerful, I guess you could say, than this James Madison over East Carolina. But and then another upset, Howard, another FCS school, defeated UNLV by a score of 43-40. And in the process, Howard made $600,000. And Howard, their quarterback, if you did not know this, is Kalen Newton. Yes, Cam Newton's younger brother. The best game then, although there's three, one on Saturday, one Sunday, and then the Monday night game. Michigan, Florida on Saturday, West Virginia, Virginia Tech on Sunday. I would throw the UCLA A&M game in there, but due to the fact A&M gave up 35 unanswered and lost by one, I'm not putting that game in this category. And then the Tennessee Georgia Tech game Monday night. And then teams that impressed, disappointed, impressed. Maryland going on the road, winning. Purdue, as I said, probably the best game they've played in about 8 years. Even though they came up short and ended up losing, I thought they impressed. As I said last week, I think they could be a dark horse to win the Big Ten West. And then Georgia Tech impressed me as well. They had the triple option, but their defense and especially passing game kept them in that ball game. And then Tennessee had their mistakes as well, so that's why they're also in that game late. But Maryland, Purdue, and Georgia Tech impressed me. Texas A&M really, really disappointed. As I said, they gave up 35 unanswered and lost by a score of 45-44 after leading 44-10 in the middle of the third quarter. I'll get into some games now this weekend. All these games are on Saturday. This upcoming Saturday, September 9th, 2017. Iowa goes to Iowa State. I'm going to take Iowa in that game. Cincinnati goes to 8th ranked Michigan. I'm going to take the Wolverines. I think they're just too powerful for the Bearcats. Number 17, Louisville, goes to North Carolina. I'm going to take the Louisville Cardinals and Lamar Jackson. in that matchup. Fresno State goes to number 1 Alabama. I'm going to take the Tide, so roll Tide. TCU, number 23 TCU goes to Arkansas. Last year I picked Arkansas. It seems like every week they disappointed me. Probably 95% of the time last year. So first game for Arkansas this year, and TCU coming off I shouldn't say a big one last week. They put up 50 plus against the FCS school, but still they put up 50 plus. But this is a Big 12 SEC matchup. It's on CBS on Saturday at 3 o'clock. I really want to take Brett Bielema and the Arkansas Razorbacks, but I'm going to take TCU and Gary Patterson. Nebraska then goes to Eugene to play Oregon. Nebraska surprisingly defeated Oregon at home last year. Oregon has a new head coach after firing Mark Helfrich. But I think Nebraska and Mike Riley will get the job done on Saturday. Mike Riley coached Oregon State for a number of years, and he has played the Ducks in Eugene a number of times in the Civil War between Oregon and Oregon State. So he's gonna, he knows the stadium, he knows the fans, he knows it's gonna get loud. So he'll have his team ready. I think Nebraska will go on the road and pick up a big victory. Hawaii then goes to UCLA. I'm going to take UCLA. Number 13, Auburn goes to number 3, Clemson, in the battle of the Tigers. I'm going to take Clemson and Kelly Bryant in this game. Bryant, he replaced Deshaun Watson this year. He played great last week, and against Kent State. And I think Clemson will come out on top in that game. That is on ESPN Saturday night at 7 or 7:30. I believe 7 o'clock, because the 7:30 game is the next game I'll get into. It's on ABC. Number 5 Oklahoma goes to number 2 Ohio State, and I'm going to take the Buckeyes in that matchup. Number 15 Georgia then goes to number 24 Notre Dame in the first meeting between the two schools since 1981. I really want to take Georgia, but Jacob Eason, their quarterback, is out for this game and possibly for the next few weeks with an injury. So as much as I don't want to, I got to take the Fighting Irish. Notre Dame over Georgia on Saturday night. It's on NBC at 7:30. Stanford goes to USC in a Pac-12 showdown. Number 14 Stanford goes to number 6 USC. Georgia's 15th, if I didn't say that. Notre Dame's 24th. Oklahoma's 5, and Ohio State's 2. Stanford goes to USC, Pac-12 showdown. Stanford, they were off last week because they played the week before in Australia against Rice. They destroyed Rice. I didn't even watch the game, but I know they literally destroyed them. And the thing with USC, they had a home game last week against Western Michigan. They held on at the end. They could have played better, but with this game being, it would be 5:30, Western Pacific time, 8:30 Eastern. So basically, it's a night game. Stanford, I think they're getting back into the swing of things. They really haven't been the same ever since Andrew Luck was there. Kevin Hogan, he did, lead the Cardinals to the Rose Bowl in back-to-back years against Michigan State. And David Shaw, he's done one hell of a job, but I think USC is just too powerful at the moment. So I'm gonna take USC in this game. Minnesota then goes to Oregon State in a rematch of last year's game. Oregon State went to Minneapolis to open the season. Oregon State was actually off last week as well because they played 2 weeks ago and got crushed by Colorado State, who defeated Colorado last week. I'm going to take PJ Fleck, though, on the road. Really his first big road test as the new Minnesota head coach. And I think the Golden Gophers will pick up a victory over the Beavers on Saturday night. Utah then goes to BYU in the game of the Holy War. Utah, I think, will come out on top. Houston then goes to Arizona. In Houston's first game of the season, they were supposed to play last week, but it was postponed due to Hurricane Harvey. I think Arizona is just going to be too tough. Houston will be ready to play, but I think Arizona will win. Boise State then goes to Washington State, number 20 Washington State. And I think Luke Falk and Mike Leach, his offense, I think it's just going to be too tough for the Broncos. I think Washington State will come out on top over Boise State, but expect this game to be close. And then the last game on my slate for this upcoming weekend, week 2 of the 2017 college football season, is a rivalry game that I have been waiting for since last September. The Pitt Panthers come up here to Happy Valley to play the now number 4 Penn State Nittany Lions. Penn State has not hosted Pitt since 1999. Probably going to be the biggest game in series history. The previous record was 93,000 back in 1999 when Pitt last came to Penn State, but Penn State added more seats in 2001 to up it to 110,000 when they can get everybody in there. So probably going to be the biggest record for attendance-wise in the series history this Saturday. But you know me, I don't like Pitt. Eat shit, Pitt. Penn State's going to come out on top. And if Ohio State loses to Oklahoma on Saturday, Oklahoma will probably move up just because Ohio State's 2 and Oklahoma's 5. Alabama's going to beat Fresno State, and then Clemson's 3. They play Auburn, so if Auburn defeats Clemson, maybe if Penn State wins, knock on wood, I think Penn State could move up. I think if they do win, they'll probably stay put just because with everybody ahead of them, unless, like I said, one of those teams ends up losing on Saturday. But I'm going to take Penn State over Pitt for the second game of the 4-game set that they finally renewed. As I said, last year the game was in Pitt. Panthers came out on top 42-39 after a failed comeback by Penn State in the second half. And then next year they go back down to Pittsburgh for game 3 of the series, and then in 2019 Pitt will come back up here, and then hopefully by then they'll have the series renewed for every year, because I think this is a matchup a lot of people want to see, especially a lot of people in the state of Pennsylvania with houses divided between Pitt and Penn State fans. I think this is a matchup that a lot of people would like to see year in and year out. But for the time being, Penn State hosts Pitt on Saturday, and I'm taking the Nittany Lions. We are Penn State, and I'll see everybody next week. And be sure to go check out my NFL preview, 2017 NFL preview. The video right before this, and then the video right after this is my Week 1 predictions for the 2017 NFL season. This video was Week 2 predictions of the college football season. And if you haven't already, be sure to like Across the Goal Line on Facebook, follow at ATGL16 on both Twitter and Instagram, subscribe on YouTube. As I said, you can like this video if you wish. It really doesn't matter to me. It'd be greatly appreciated if you do, though. Share this video on all social media. Hit me up for merchandise if you want a piece of history. And then you can follow me on both Twitter and Instagram as well. My Twitter is at CoolHandLuke96, and then my Instagram, is at Godissart96. So we are Penn State. Hopefully Penn State comes out on top on Saturday. And like I said, I'll see everybody later.